What's going on, guys? It's 7:59 p.m. It's June 25th, 2021. Friday night. Not so good for other people back east, especially along seaside, Sunside, Miami Beach-Dade County area. Regarding the apartment complex that collapsed, they're still digging through the rubble looking for survivors. Hearts and prayers are going out to the survivors, but also to those who are trapped inside, and to the rescuers who are trying to do their utmost to excavate any and all live bodies. Last resort, removing the remnants. I could be talking about the George Floyd situation case, but I'm not about to. Instead, I was concerning about a Capitol Police officer who finally got a meeting with my own congressman of Kern County, his lordship, Kevin McCarthy, who's the GOP leader in the House of Representatives. Is that enough ego flating in there, schmuck? Yeah, I said it. Roseman here, so. You finally decided to get off your royal throne to meet one of the officers who actually protected your ass and everybody else's over there on January 6th. And when a vote came up about last week, or this week or last week, concerning about recognizing those heroes who tried to throw their own lives and their own bodies to protect your measly little selves in the Congress. That includes both Democratic and not to mention the GOP, or the pseudo-GOP, I'd call you guys. You failed to recognize them. You failed to acknowledge them. But you want them to do their job to protect you? But you couldn't say, well done, boys. Well done, you protected us. Thank you. We're going to recognize you for that. Oh, no. Lives of two officers didn't matter either. One died from a stroke a day after the damn insurrection happened. And another one of the officers who was so traumatic, he's been making the rounds in the media. And Congress has been pissed off about it. But not to mention, he's been making the rounds, and not to mention several other of his fellow officers and everybody else who is involved in the damn thing, been trying to tell the Congress people who actually voted against the idea of recognizing them of their outstanding heroism. Sorry, you guys don't have anything to deal with them? So McCarthy finally allows to get a visit with the police officer, the highly esteemed police officer who tried to save his ass. Well, thank you for coming over here, and I really have to talk to my other fellow congressman regarding this one in my party, but we'll get back to you soon, we hope. That's the kind of weak sounding attitude I hear from McCarthy. He really didn't give a hoot. And the officers are saying, we're pissed. We put our lives on the line. We're not about to quit now. This is what we do. This is our job. Despite the fact that they think of us as lowlifes. And the rest of Congress, who actually voted to support the officers in their valiant efforts. The officers are warmly welcomed and cheered. It's the rest of the GOP schmucks who flaked out, including McCarthy, my own damn congressman in Kern County, California. The Trump kiss ass. Yeah, it's called a personal attacks at this point over here, but it's also my own political opinion at this point over here. Now, if I really wanted to make it a personal attack at this point over here, I would have several media outlets, actually, social media platforms, pull me off a great deal. Suffice it to say, Congressman, you've got people running for your job. You want to save your job. stick with your own damn district at this point over here and do your damn job. Otherwise, start packing. It's not a threat. When the elections come up, you better start campaigning like crazy. But do you think you got your votes? Check again. Check it again. And then check it again one more time. See, I don't see you doing the rounds. I don't see you going around Kern County, going to the towns and doing town hall meetings. You just don't give a hoot. Let me rephrase that. You don't give a flying fuck. So, yeah, this letter is addressed to my own congressman at this point over here. Some of your office staff I'll commend, because I probably would like your office staff a little bit better, because they know how to do their jobs, but you don't. You're a kiss ass. You go to run to Trump for any and all your problems, instead of working with others trying to find a damn solution. You have to run to your mama. The Capitol Police had put their lives on the line as their sworn duty and their job, and they did an extraordinary effort, and they lost lives, and they got injured over the damn thing. But you guys don't give the recognition. You guys don't care. And that's why I hope to God you lose your election and your seat. Because it shows how much you literally don't care about the quote-unquote blue line. You don't care about the police officers. And you sure as hell don't care about the damn military. You never served, did you? I'll say it before, and I'll say it again. You never served. You never volunteered. You've only been a political kiss ass. You may have owned a business here or there, but does that actually give you military background? Does that give you camaraderie with the vets? Have you ever volunteered at a Veterans Administration before? Or volunteered at a veterans gathering? Did you ever do anything with the vets? But you're going to be considered pro-military without even talking to the guys. And some of the Capitol Police are pro-military. They know what honor is. They know what duty. They know what respect is. They've been trained. They understand the Constitution. They know what loyalty is. Somehow you don't. You have a full career of 30, 40 plus years of corporate kiss ass because you've been a politician. Start from the lower ranks and worked your way up. Nice on the degrees that you have there. But it would have been better if you actually volunteered for the military. At least do a 4-year stint or a 6-year stint. Get that on your record. Oh, you're probably going to be asking me about what about me as well. You see, I'm going to get disgusting here. Yeah, you see this flabby chest here? Somewhere on there's supposed to be a scar, a faded scar. It's about 50 years old. It's called an open heart surgery. Crack open the chest. Crack open the heart. Repair mitral valves. You think it's a routine plumbing job these days. Try doing it when you're 4 years old and you're on a table and the medical expertise advances that were during that time was scary as hell. And coming back from the dead 3 times is not fun either. So it precluded me from joining the military, but it did not preclude me from serving the military any which way I can. So even during school, when I was going to high school, I served 1 year as a volunteer at a Veterans Assistance. Well, anybody can read this? I mean, can somebody actually read some of that? Is it actually legible? What's it say? Uh huh. So let me see if I can read this. Voluntary Service Award. Certificate is awarded to John Weaver by the Veterans Administration in recognition of 100 hours. Wow. Okay. Well, a volunteer service to veterans through active participation in the volunteer service program given at the Veterans Administration Medical Center, Sepulveda, California, this day of 26th of May, 1983. Signed by Director Ronald L. Nelson. You see, when you volunteer, even as a student, I learned how to do civics. By volunteering service, I'm spending at least an hour of my time, and those hours do count when you're working with the veterans of foreign wars. That includes World War II, World War I, and Korea. We weren't allowed to work with the Vietnam, but mostly the World War I and World War II vets. So yes, that I do hold proudly. It may not be in a damn glass counter, but I know I hold on to that damn thing like crazy because I earned it. Did you, Kevin? I've been to a lot of stand downs, have you? I've been to a lot of coffee with vets over the past several years. When my brother was still alive, David Orr Shaw. He was a Navy vet. Years after his discharge, my mother, Elena R. Shaw, everyone called her Marianne, a younger version of this ugly fat fart. It's him that he kept having problems with the United States Navy because of certain situations happening that he could not get his discharge upgraded. Yeah, he was an alcoholic. Yeah, he was a drug abuser. He tried to get into programs. And unfortunately, because of certain circumstances happening aboard ships left and right, and situations happening at home, such as the death of relatives, had forced his hand to doing absence without leave for over a year and then coming back into the military to do his punishment. And after several months in the brig, he came home. Bad conduct discharge, and this was back in the 80s. In the early 80s. And he came home and had to fight that addiction, and he was going through a lot of recovery programs to do so. In the end, he had about 32, 33 years of clean and sober sobriety without using any drugs and without drinking any alcohol. And a lot of people looked up to my brother. He had letters he had sent over to the United States Navy so many times, but the Navy kept losing the damn paperwork so many damn times. No one would give him a hearing for the past 25 or 30 years. He kept trying to plug away. Finally, he gave up. He figured at this point, even with the change of administrations, nobody gave a shit. And the last bastion he tried to do that, he lost also his paperwork when we had storage issues. He's gone since 2018. He was in the United States Navy. He served with the United States Navy SEALs. But because of his discharge, the Navy took away his rank, his status, his medals. They even tried to take away his Budweiser and his jump wings. But he had the heart and he kept it. They could never take away that. Never could take away that. I know a lot of people call it stolen valor because every so often he would wear stuff that he'd received from different military sources to show he's still proud proud and true American, and he believed in the United States Navy, and he believed in the United States Navy SEALs. But he sure as hell didn't believe that the United States government would be stabbing him in the back all the damn time. But he held fast to his faith. He worked hard at being a SEAL. Ever since the day he was born, I guess he was born a SEAL because he was born a fighter. He fought my mother tooth and nail even when I was born, 8 years difference. I'm the youngest. I'm the survivor. I was the baby. There was a lot of things my brother could teach the Navy if they listened. But my brother was still trying to learn from the Navy. And he was trying to learn it. Unfortunately, he had some incidents happening on a couple of ships, one of which caused him a lot of damage, both mentally and physically. And the medical records would be buried on this one. Some things he took to his grave. Some of them I do know of, but only through his own words, and I didn't see the records at all. And the people who were supposed to be doing it to him, long gone or long dead. I keep his memories and I keep as much of his stories in my head as much as I can. He mentioned 3 things a SEAL is supposed to know about as the class number, and I forgot about that one. But he was training over at San Diego Recruit Training Center a long time ago, not to mention at Coronado. He told me about Old Misery, and he also told me about Roger Perry, his swim buddy. Who also came through the boot. Perry was going through the routes of all the branches, including the coasties. His last stop was the United States Navy, through the SEALs. He also told me, and the Admiral will probably deny it anyway, that as a young lieutenant, there was a Lieutenant Mccarthy, who was his boat captain. He's a retired admiral now, and he was in charge of the SEALs before he retired years ago. I suppose he also wrote a book as well concerning about the SEALs. But my brother told me stories about McCreevy telling the crew not to give up. And the thing of it is, if a commissioned officer goes through the SEAL program, if he rings out his entire career in his job. Entirely. No commission. You're kicked out and you're gone. No retirement. Just thank you for joining the United States Navy, but it's been a pleasure. Get the hell out of here. If you're a non-com, if you're a non-rate, well, you get to be recycled. And that's what it was back in the 70s. When my brother was telling me about it. He told me a story concerning about it getting sandy and wet. No, wet and sandy. They'd had to go through and swim in the cold currents at night. And then get sandy. They're supposed to be rolling around and getting sandy. My brother, on the other hand, he did get sandy. He buried his ass. It was wet and sandy. And they were supposed to be hiding in the sand. A lot of them got caught, except my brother. And the chief was looking all around looking for him. Chief Gutierrez. Master Chief Gutierrez. Oh. Master Sergeant Gutierrez. He was a drill sergeant. As I said before, I'm trying to keep the details correct in my head, and it's been a long while. He'd be standing on my brother's hand and not even realizing my brother was buried underneath. He didn't even realize that there was a mound he was standing on. He was standing on my brother's back in his hand. And he's looking for Shaw. And it says, "I'm right under you." And the training goes, "This is what we mean by wet insanity." He gets off my brother's hand. He comes up, pops tall. There had been other stories I've been trying to remember. It had been a long time since we last talked because he was still dealing with his PTSD before he passed away. But he was also dealing with complications of heart and stroke. Not exactly easy to get that information, especially when your language is limited to about 1 or 2 words, or even 3 afterwards. Stroke took him out. He had a lot of affection for the military. But he also realized sometimes what kind of crap other people had put him through. There was a story of a guy named Roger D. Reeves out there. He was in an engine compartment. My brother was on the Coral C, before it got scrapped and turned into razor blades. It was a flat top, modified. It was a World War II transport, and then through Korea, they put a flat top on the thing. And they kept it in service all the way over until about 2000, I believe, and then they turned it into scrap metal in that time. My brother was not crying over it either, but he did tell me stories about it. About how he came on board, talked to the captain at the time, Stanley Arthur. He had some respect for my brother, but the XO didn't. Neither did the chief of the boat. Cops are a little bit picky when they take a look at the guy by the record, and then they match the record with the guy, and they automatically hate him for how much term they've got on the boat. But it was a flat top. My brother was trained as a boiler technician. His second job, his first job, was supposed to be SEAL, special weapons operator. I usually don't say it in public because it usually gets me in trouble or my brother in trouble when he was talking to other people about it. But he didn't care. He wanted the trouble. He wanted to clear his name with a lot of people. Other people had checked into his record and found out my brother was telling the truth. We also found out that we had a cousin, a sheriff that died out in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, a few decades ago. And my brother was named after him, David Cameron. And David Cameron was originally a CB before he became a SEAL during Vietnam. Over at the CB base, Point Hueneme, my brother and I looked at the plaque, fell apart and cried. I never met him. I wish to God I had. My brother met him. He was a young kid, Balsa Chica, California. My brother loved to swim. I swear he was more in tune with the water than I was. He would swim out and come right back in the ocean current, testing himself. One time he swam over to the buoy that they had out in Balsa Chica and couldn't get off because his foot got tangled up by the chain underneath that held the buoy in place. And my brother screamed, and the family was panicking. He was staying with my aunt and cousins at the time. There was a SEAL unit training in that area. and they swam over. Next thing my brother knows, his foot's getting untangled by one seal, and another seal was picking him up and putting him into a boat, and they took him over to the Long Beach Naval Base. The aunt drove over, along with the girls, our cousins. They picked up my brother, and my brother was having a conversation with him. Discovered he was one of our cousins. And throughout the few years that he kept in contact with him, he learned a lot more about David Cameron. It was only about 20 years later that we learned that he was also a sheriff over at Jackson Hole, Wyoming. After he got out of his hitch with the Navy, he was on his farm when a tractor overturned him. Overturned him and crushed him. Hell of a way to go for him. Instead of getting killed by combat fire, he gets killed by his own tractor. And they held a funeral for him. They still hold services and memorial functions for him to this day. My family has history in the military. An uncle of mine had served in the United States military as a Marine during Korea. He served at Incheon. He survived Incheon. He couldn't tell his family what he had been through. Not for years. They wouldn't understand unless they were in the military and had special ops training. He became a special investigator after getting his license, and he also went for his doctorate in psychology, criminal psychology. He became an investigator for the state of California. It was also understood that Raymond Cameron Sr., everyone called him Punchy. He was a boxing champion in the Marine Corps at the time, during the 50s, fleet champion. Well, seems like the fire engine's out here again. These stories my brother kept telling me throughout the years, throughout the decades. It was one time that my uncle lowered his shields enough to talk to my brother after my brother got his Budweiser. And he talked for a long time. But my brother could not tell me the stories of what my uncle went through because Morris Cameron would not reveal anything. Raymond Cameron is the son of Morris Cameron, which is my uncle. What they call Punchy, and I called him Uncle Bill. Fed him anyway. So, you see, my family goes back generations regarding military service. It was only the males serving left and right. Females, who knows? I, for one, had been a supporter of them because I supported the vets. I did sometimes support the policies, but I supported those who wore the uniform, regardless of what branch or service or job they had. They served. And those who have been serving in volunteer bases, I also have a deep respect for. When I got that certificate back in '83, I was going through a high school program called School Within a School, situated to pre-college program. One of the programs they had on there was dealing with a veterans outreach over at the VA hospital in Sepulveda, Building 99. Lady name was Shirley. was our coordinator. I don't remember her last name. But she was our driver, she was our teacher, our mentor, our friend. And she helped us in helping the veterans. At least 1 or 2 hours a week. It gave them something to look forward to. We played cards. We didn't bet money. But we did play a few card games here and there. And it was well worth it. When my brother got older, more infirmed in the last 10 to 15 years of his life, he had suffered a great deal of physical and mental trauma in the military and in his civilian life, to the point where he had PTSD flaring up like crazy and the medications couldn't help him out. There had been times I'd seen my brother wig out and not recognize me. And it took him a while to realize that. It's scary to see your own brother not recognize you at all. I had seen him a hell of a lot worse, though. I'd seen him coming into the house one day after I threw him out. It was like months after he got out of the military and really got into the alcohol and drug. Not months. It took about almost a year. It had gotten worse and worse, where my mother and I had decided to take him out of the equation of our family. We kicked his ass out. 3 months later, he came back as a skeleton, broken. He tried to kill himself, and it didn't work. Somebody upstairs wanted him alive. And from that day on, he was working on his sobriety every single second of his life and being sober and clean. And it wasn't easy. Especially when I had to deal with him at the meeting halls all the damn time. This is not tooting a horn. This is telling a story about one individual that meant a damn in my life. He meant a lot to me. And I did everything else I could to being his caregiver the last several years of his life. And I did it to the best of my ability. I've already got enough injuries right now in my own life. I've had a lot of physical and mental health issues that I'm disabled as well. But I'm grateful that I took the time enough to help him out in my life. The times when he was actually able to get out and about and being mobile and communicative to people. We went to veteran places. We talked to veterans. I sat back and listened because I wanted to hear their stories. Stories about their usual lives, how things were going at home. Some people are expecting to hear war stories left and right. I wanted to hear their survival stories. When they got out of the service, how did they survive? Because that would help me in dealing with my brother as he was dealing with his own survival. And we had context. Well, they're dried up now. But I'm grateful. And up in there, up in that cabinet, my mother's ashes and my brother's ashes. No, I'm not burying them. No, but it will be taken care of. I can't tell you how deeply it hurts when people badmouth vets and badmouth those who've done their duty and then try to act like nothing else has happened. Yes, I told you stories. But I imagine those who wore the uniform one way or another in one shape or color or pattern or texture would tell you their story if you only would listen. Just sit down and listen to them about half hour. Grab a cup of coffee and a sandwich. Invite them into an office. 30 minutes will take an hour or two, or then you're listening to their life story. It'll change your life. It'll make you grateful. It made me grateful. I don't do the patriotic colors of the United States flags. I don't have to. I have it in here. I have it in here. I don't have to wear the red, white, and blue. My service record tells me that. I don't have to wear the physical extensions of the flag. My actions, my words do it for me. I'm as patriotic and as American as I can be. But I don't have to be a damn fool and a damn idiot about it or fanatical about it. But I can support those who served and also support those who serve. And I'm grateful for all of them. Those who have been listening left and right, please thank a vet, living and dead, living better, because they can appreciate it. For the dead, pray for them. If you have family members who have served a long time ago and passed away, do a flower. Not a red, white, and blue, but a flower of their choice, of their favorite kind that you remember. Or light a candle. Light a candle in their honor. Remember them. And if they're still alive, help them. Any which way. Show them that you know. Show them that you understand and you care. Believe me, you're doing them a good job. You're telling them that somebody actually listens. And in one way, you're all welcoming them home. That's all they want. I hope you heard that, Congressman. Because I'll tell you something. I've got a lot of respect for them, as I said before. You showed zero. That's why I don't have any respect for you, sir.